So let's bring in a guy who knows about this, Victor Davis Hanson. Works at the Hoover Institution on the West Coast, just south of San Francisco. He's a senior fellow there. So I don't want to make any mistakes here, Mr. Hanson. You know this better than I do. What exactly does Congressman Nunes and other members of the committee want to see? Let's start there.
Well, I think they just want to see the truth, Bill. And what they're incrementally doing over the last 3 or 4 months is they're trying to get information and let the public sphere decide, because I think people were very disturbed how Mueller was appointed. We know that Comey deliberately leaked maybe notes of his own that shouldn't have. They were in government possession, that he wanted a special counsel. Then lo and behold, his friend was appointed, and people said, okay. And then we learned that his subordinate, Mr. McCabe, was affiliated with the Clintons in a number of ways, and he was involved in the investigation of Hillary Clinton. We said okay, and then we learned, as you went over very well, Mr. Strzok, that he stepped down in August, and he had an affair with another person involved with the FBI investigation. And we said okay. In August, that we were told that they stepped down in a planned manner, that they were only under temporary assignment, which is not true. We learned now. We said okay. And then we've learned that Miss Ray was a personal lawyer, and she's on the case for Ben Rhodes, who was allegedly trying to put people in that last 90 days of the lame duck Obama administration to disrupt the incoming, whether they were in the NSC or Justice or Defense. That's unsubstantiated, but that was a rumor. And she was a personal lawyer for him.
Now, is she the alleged mistress? Is that the alleged mistress?
Oh, so it was Ben Rhodes' personal lawyer who's on the Mueller team.
Okay. And so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here. So there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that says that the Mueller investigation. Hold on just for a second. A lot of circumstantial evidence says the Mueller investigation is staffed by people who aren't looking for the truth necessarily, but have a political agenda. That's the problem. So let's get to Congressman Nunes. What does he want to see now? Why is he writing up a contempt citation against Ray and Rosenstein, two pretty big Justice Department guys? Why is he doing that?
Because he's trying to, I think, and I can't speak for the congressman, but that committee has information that suggests that what we just reviewed was not abnormal, but was normal. That there were people that were appointed once Jeff Sessions recused himself, there were people with anti-Trump sentiments, and they were not shy about expressing those sentiments. And they were involved in the selection of Mr. Mueller, and then they were involved, as was Mr. Mueller, in selecting people that by any fair standard could not be disinterested. And what we have learned so far is not the entire sad truth, that it's much more extensive, and we're finding this drip out every single day. And so I think what that committee is saying to us, the American people, I don't think they're advocating that Mr. Mueller step down, but they're trying to say that this investigation is so discredited that at some point he's going to have to resign, or they're going to have to recalibrate it and look at what might be more likely collusion with the Fusion GPS, which, by the way, more information came out about that today.
What was that information? I didn't see that. What was that?
Yeah, an hour ago, the authors of the GPS Fusion dossier, what we call fake news, apparently were in contact with people in the Justice Department who in turn were in contact with the Mueller investigation. So it seems as if there was a connection, not about releasing it, but maybe there were knowledge of people in the Justice Department about that dossier. And that opens up all kinds of questions about whether that had anything to do with the FISA request.
Sure.
Or this.
Sure. They were using bogus information to get a judge to sign off on a listening warrant. That's a crime if they knew it was bogus information. And even if they didn't know it was bogus, they didn't vet it. Obviously, it turned out to be bogus, so they didn't vet it. You can't use phony information to get a federal warrant. That's a crime. But I'm fascinated by these actual emails from a Strzok, all right?
Yes.
The FBI guy who's was involved with writing the Hillary Clinton report and looking into the Russian collusion. I want to know what he put in writing, and I think the American people want to know that too. And
Yes,
do you believe that's going to be presented to the House committee?
no, I think it is. I think there were 10,000 text
They're
messages.
going over them now, right? So you believe that shortly the American people are going to see those emails and texts?
Yes, I do, because the reason that they were not able to see them was not because they were transparently innocuous. They were obviously communicating in ways that would not be disinterested why they were investigating the President of the United States.
And it's so stupid. But
It
the
is.
other serious thing here is because we don't want to speculate what's in the emails. I mean, they were bad enough to get Truck booted off the case. So we know that they're not good for the FBI.
And also enough to get him booted off without wanting to say why he was booted off.
and right, booted off and don't say anything, which
Yeah.
taints the FBI again and the Justice Department. Final question for you. President Trump appointed Wray. And I don't know whether you agree with me that it was embarrassing today. It didn't look steady at all. And President Trump, could fire Rosenstein anytime he wants. And we all know he's mad that Sessions recused himself. But Rosenstein, he's not handing over this stuff either. And he certainly knew that this thing last August, the firing of Schrock, was covered up. Covered up might be too strong, but shunted to the side. So Rosenstein and Wray aren't looking really good. And they're basically President Trump, he's in charge of them.
Yes, but I would say that I think Trump has always displayed I don't mean this in a pejorative sense, he's always displayed a rare animal cunning about human nature. And he understands that when they're digging like this, you don't want to stop them from digging. And we don't hear the word collusion anymore. Now we hear obstruction. Pretty soon we're going to hear another word besides obstruction. So what we're witnessing is the moral and ethical collapse of the FBI and the Justice Department in the terms of the Obama professionals that are still in there. And I think the Trump team is saying, we don't have to get into a scandal by firing Mueller. All we have to do is let the work of the House Intelligence Committee is getting this stuff out, and they are digging their own grave. And as long as they're continuing to do that, we're going to be disinterested and above it all. And maybe at some point that'll have to change. But right now, the ball is in Mueller's court. He's got some of the worst public relations disasters
It's
to deal with.
almost irredeemable at this point.
Yes.
And once those emails and texts come out, I will tell you, I believe it is going to be irredeemable, particularly in the Hillary Clinton situation, where she walks, and this guy Schrock was writing up how the FBI should describe her activities. And
it benefits Donald Trump if he can stay above the fray and say, look, I'm a special prosecutor. I did it in good faith. I didn't know that this man did not reciprocate in good faith, and I don't know what to do. But you can see, Mr. Public Citizen, you can see what they're doing.
Right. And it'll make it a lot easier for him to move once there isn't any reasonable doubt about the FBI's behavior and Mueller's team. I got to ask you one more question while I have you. Can you predict what's going to happen here? Did you guys out in the Hoover Institute have you drawn up a paper on what you think is going to be end game here?
Yeah, I think what the short-term strategy is to let this continue to go. They have confidence the House Intelligence Committee, maybe the alone of all the committees, Mr. Nunes is a fighter, and he'll get to the bottom. And as long as this continues, the idea that this committee will either be impotent or will have to be disbanded increases, but you don't want to preempt and stop this natural process of erosion because they brought it on themselves. Their own hubris brought this nemesis, and you don't want to interfere with it as long as these disclosures keep coming out.
So you think Mueller's collusion investigation is toast? It's done?
I never thought it had anything to do.
No, I know that. I know that. But right now, he's not in a position where he has the credibility to really bring a conclusion of that.
He only has one alternative bill to salvage his reputation out of the committee. He could quietly change his trajectory and look at the fusion GPS, the emails, the uranium one, and then announce, well, we started off after Trump, but we discovered that there was collusion, but not as we originally anticipated.
Yeah, the fusion GPS thing, the uranium one isn't gonna go anywhere. There's too many people involved, but fusion is. So, Mr. Davis, we really appreciate, Mr. Hanson, I'm sorry, we really appreciate your time. I would love to keep in touch with you.
So would I.
I know you talked to Congressman Nunes. Give him my best because we really want to be ahead of this story. So anything happens, you let us know right away, would you?
I will. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Hanson. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks very much.